welcome to Paint with Heart Studios here in New Hampshire. I'm Cindy Harrison, the artist and host of Paint with Heart. And today we are going to be doing an Easter lily. And before we get started, I would love to introduce you to my bestie who will tell you what the word of the week is for this week.
Hi everybody, I'm Melissa Reyes, Ms. Meliz, and I'm in Los Angeles in Southern California. And I'm really happy to be with you here on Paint with Heart. And thank you so much, Cindy, for having me. I have the word of the week this week is cleanse. I don't know if you can see this there on my affirmation card deck, but it is a babbling brook there with the water coming down. And I always think of fresh water like that for cleansing. But with that cleanse, I have a phrase here, wash past hurts away. So we've been talking a lot, Cindy and I, this week about how you can have a fresh start every day. Every day is a new day. And whether it's pain, physical pain, or emotional pain that we carry with us, just that image of water and fresh starts and having a friendship to just kind of dump that, whatever it is that's ailing you on to somebody. We do that with each other. We kind of like get it out, and then we can start new. And it's really a really great way to kind of let it go. And that is what it takes to start again, is letting it go. So today, Cindy's going to be painting this really beautiful lily, and that represents a fresh start too, I think. It's so clean and crisp and beautiful. So I think that that's kind of what spring is going to be like, is starting new. So I'm looking forward to that. So tell me about why you chose this picture to paint today, Cindy.
I've picked this flower because I've for many years been very interested in the meaning behind flowers. And this one here has a meaning of purity and cleanliness or clarity, and it just fit right in with the word of the week being cleanse. And also too, white, the color white is also a purity, a cleanly color. So henceforth, boom, there we go. Thank you for watching on the replay. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the channel, comment on the video, and ring the little bell for notifications every time I post. And also, what's the last one? There's one more, Melissa. Share.
Oh, definitely share it with your friends.
Share with everybody. And you can share on Facebook. You can go to YouTube and actually share to Facebook. So thank you again for coming. Thank you for joining us today here live as well. And there's a video on YouTube and Facebook that shows you how to prepare this background. And I did that with a really big, like a 1-inch stencil brush. So whatever big brush you have that you can pounce in a circular type brush, not flat, and pounce on these different colors and create this background. The shiny bits you see are actually a metallic luster, which I'm going to show you how to do that at the end. That's the last thing we do. But in the meantime, check out the video to do the base, the background. Everyone should be at this point that is here today, and your base coat was with Winter Blue. And now I'm going to work on this with actual dry brushing technique. I thought I'm going to try and do this without any side loads and see how it comes out. And I think I was very pleased with the results. I gave everyone 2 patterns, one for the main outline, I believe, and one had all the highlighted dashes in there to show you where the highlight area is, which looks like this, or maybe it was just one pattern with both on it. So what I did was I transferred on there all these highlighted lines or dashed lines so that now I know, and if I keep it next to my painting, I will know where I'm going. I'm going to use a dome brush. This is a Sharp Series 245. This is an 8. I have a 6. I have the whole set, and a 4, because I don't if I use one color and wash it out or get it wet accidentally, I don't want to use it again until it's dry. So always have some dry brushes on hand. We're going to start with Snow White. We're going to start with Snow White so we can not worry about having to wash it out. We'll work our way up to the next color. Pick up some of this color on your brush. I'll move this in here so you can see. I pick up some of the color on my brush and I swirl it around on my palette paper and then wipe the excess off on my paper towel. Come into where you know where your highlight is going to be and start to scrub in a circular motion, gentle scrubbing first, and then start to apply pressure after you know how much paint is coming off your brush. Pretty much this is what we're going to be doing for all the highlighted areas. And when I do this one, I'm scrubbing in the direction toward the center vein. And as I use up the paint, I'm going to have to press harder and harder. If you go over the dashes, it's okay. Don't worry about it. The next one is over here. When I get to the narrow ones, I kind of go on the angle. So I just hit some of the hairs on the angle here. I don't go flat against because it's too wide. And I'm going to go linear with that one. Reload, wipe off, gentle pressure, work your way up. See, and I did this just for you, Melissa.
What did you do just for me?
Not using side loading.
That's funny. First, she teaches me painstakingly forcing me to learn how to do paint side loading. And I kept asking her again and again, is there any other way we could do this? Do I have to do side loading? No, you must learn how to do side loading. Then I learned how to do it, and then I was grumbling the whole way. I finally learned how to do it, and then I said, you know what, this is great. I finally caught it. I like how to do side loading. Then right. She does a series of things where you don't need to do any side loading, and then she starts using all these other ways you could do instead. She's the best teacher ever because she forced me to learn this skill though. So now I'm not afraid of doing it. And then she runs it in because she's the best friend ever. Like that.
Yes, and you were doing it so beautifully, and it's like, okay, let's not do that anymore.
I know, but the beginners who do join you and watch your videos are going to love it because I'm going to have to learn how to do it all over again. It's been so long since I've tried it, but it'll be fun.
It's fun.
I was concerned about timing on this project, and I asked Cindy, how long is it going to take to do this flower? She said, oh, it's going to take 2 hours at least, with all the detail for these, each leaf.
It's hard to judge how long it's going to take. I always, it's not funny, but it's funny because people will say, well, how long is that going to take? How fast a painter are you? I don't have that answer.
I know for you, when you have a basic plan, but then you can go back and continue with the details, and you can keep working on that piece for a long time. So there's really, you're never finished.
Right. And I hope that my goal is always to finish the whole project. When I go to a class, I like to come home with something finished or leave the classroom with something finished. I think most people are like that though, unless it's a theory class and they're just going to learn a theory. I'm doing circles as I go around. Well, we've got some really neat classes coming up. Thanks to several of you who chimed in and helped me decide. Usually it's just Melissa and I, and it's like, you know, I finally said, well, why do we always have to decide everything? So how's everyone doing? Everyone?
We have Cheryl and Barb have joined us.
Hi, Cheryl. Hi, Barb.
And so we have a nice big group today. So if anybody has questions, go ahead and put them in that chat room. I'm keeping an eye on it. Well, I have Noche with me, who's very happy and content because the dog moved out, Roxy. Yeah. But she's going to be coming in for a visit today. So
he's going to stretch Noche out again.
No.
The little things down here I'm going to end up doing with a liner brush, a round brush. But I want to make this particular area here brighter. This one, ooh, it's a little too bright. Let's work that out. Make that a little brighter. It's like a bend in the flower right there. I keep brightening up this one. So when it's dry, you can go back over it and add more to brighten it up in certain areas. Be careful you don't make a hole. You definitely don't want holes. There you go. There's that. I'm not going to wash my brush out just yet. I'm going to wipe it out. If you have a damp paper towel, you can kind of wipe it out on a damp paper towel, or like a wet wipe, baby wet wipe. But I don't want to put it in the water. Okay, so now I'm going to take the brush and I'm going to pick up Zinc. So it's a very dark gray on the brush that had white in it. I'm going to pick up the gray. Now, because there's some white in it, it might blend a little bit and make it a little lighter. That won't hurt anything. Wipe the excess off on your paper towel, like I did here. And we're going to start putting in the shadows. The shadows do not completely cover the base coat. It's not everywhere, but it will be in many places. So pick an area that is on this petal, the left petal, between at the base where it comes out from underneath the center petal. You can bring it up a little bit. Don't bring it up too far. If you do, it's gentle, very lightly, even on the edge. You can wrap it around and scrub it on the tip over here. Come back down very lightly in the center. You don't want to eliminate all of your winter blue. You're leaving it in the center of the winter blue and bringing it down, making it darker and wider at the base. I'm going to pick up a little bit more. On this one, I'm going between the highlighted dash areas. So gently on the bottom round of this left side of the center petal, from the edge into the center between the two white highlights, and up here against this edge. It doesn't go all the way to the white, so it's not touching the white. It stops before I get to the white. I have a little dash area up here where it's darker, so you have a little bit more paint up there. I'm going to, this area, kind of stay towards the center of that area. So you're not touching the white, you're not going over all of the winter blue. If you get too wide, you don't like what you did, go ahead and take some Q-tip, and with some spit on it, you can wash back some of that color so it narrows it down. But then you want to stay away from that area with your dry brush. I'm going to go on this side of the vein, circular motion, but on a diagonal toward the vein. This one is in the center. There's a section, 2 sections to this petal, and I'm going in the center of this one. And if you come over towards the vein, center vein, it's a real light touch, hardly noticeable, tickled. Pick up in the center of this side. Doesn't look like much. This is what they call the ugly stage. On the corner, lying my brush down at like a 45-degree angle to my surface, I'm just rubbing it on the edge. And then I'm going to do that down here and in the center, along the center vein. Let's see what's left on my brush. I'm going to touch the peak of this one. And I'm also going to, usually with a fresh load, it's going to be dark. So I want to go where it's darker and then expend some paint off my brush before I go into a lighter area. Follow the angles too. These petals are bending. These 3 have a definite bend in them. So you want to follow the angle of that as well. Keep it in mind. If it's not coming off, pick up more. So, yep, I would say we are looking pretty ugly.
Excuse me, speak for yourself, why don't you?
I was waiting for the peanut gallery to chime in. So now, because I am pretty confident that I am done using this dry brush technique, I am going to wash the brush out. It doesn't look too bad, huh? So, how are we doing? Your line where the 2 colors meet, go right in where the 2 colors meet and soften it by scraping some paint there.
Okay, you mean the gray paint?
So I would do the white. I would take the white. If you have let me see. If you have a line, I can maybe I'll paint a line. So if you have a solid white line like that,
Okay.
you take your dry brush,
Yeah.
with some of that white,
Okay.
wipe off most of it, and then right where the line ends,
Oh.
and see how it kind of disappears.
Right.
it kind of softens that line so it's not
Okay.
so stark.
Okay.
So the next step we're going to do is I want to take that, I have a 1 round here, and I'm going to take my Snow White and draw up those center vein lines, the center vein lines. This will help me know direction better. Okay, so don't forget to put the bend in these 3. So that will help us with some direction. While we have the liner, while we have the round brush out in the white, there's a couple fold overs where the petals kind of folded over. And this is one of them. I'm just going to put it in with white. That's one area. And this is another one over here. And it doesn't have to be straight because petals are not straight. And once that's done, I want everyone, if you can, if you have a 3/4 inch filbert comb, if you have a large comb, if not, use the largest comb you have, because we're going to be working on our petals. In the meantime, if your line work is done and you want to take your eraser and erase all those dash lines that you made around, we can do that. This is the fun part, I think. I'm going to take this brush and load it with, put it in the water. And I'm going to put it in the white. And you can't really tell, but I'm pressing down and I'm wiggling it back and forth to splay the hairs. And now I'm going to start pulling lines. Let's start with the ones that are straight. That's easy. We can do that. This petal here, which is the flat one, we can pull that straight into the center. I start up on end and I start pulling my lines right down from the top. If you go on a diagonal, you can start to bring some down into the center. This big center leaf, all I'm pulling is going towards down here. So if I load my brush, it always helps to have a little bit of moisture in your brush. Splay those hairs out. And then as I pull from the outside in, I'm going towards the center. Ooh, it's a little too much. See, when we make a mistake, just go and wipe that off. And I'm going to pull towards down here. I start with short strokes and then work my way. And then I'm going to turn it this way. and pull them down there. I hate to hit the surface. I just don't know how much paint's on the brush. So I start with, like when you're swinging for golf, you start with a few, strokes without hitting the ball, just to make sure you got the right swing. And then work that up. Okay. Next, I'm going to, let's go over here to this one. You notice I twist my piece all around, so get yours acclimated to mine. I'm going to go and pull these up. And see how the ugliness is already starting to go away because we have these lines here.
I thought it was because I came back.
Oh, well, that too, Melissa. You do have a way of brightening up the room when you enter it.
I don't know. I turned on my microphone. I put my earphones in. I hear you say the ugliness went away, and I thought, oh, don't say that. But it does look very beautiful.
So you want to use light touch. You don't want the lines to be as dark or as thick as your center vein lines. So continue with the light touch, barely touching the surface. When you come to these, don't forget the direction goes here, but then it changes the direction. So it goes toward that bend and then it comes down. Go toward the bend and then it comes down. If you go over your area, just take your Q-tip and wipe it off. And you're bringing these towards the point. This one's going towards the point and bends here. So keeping that in mind, this comes up. Pre-wet thing. I'm going to go take my 3/4 inch wash brush, and I liked fine tuning it with a side load. So on the corner of your brush, have some of that white and go to like here, the outer edge, and I'm gonna mop that out with my finger. I'm going to do the outside edge of this one. Just clean up any fuzzies you might have made over the edge. I'm going to go to the outside of this one, and I don't go all the way down. I start with the water against the edge and work my way up. And I'm going to work my way down. Again, if you have a mop, go ahead and use that. Next, I really don't want to go against that edge. I'm going to go hit this one. I'm only doing the bend on this one. We can bring this one down from the bend here. A little bit. Now, what's critical with this would be this rounded area here, and there's a fold up the side. So on the fold on the side, I'm going to turn this upside down to work on it. I'm going to take this brush and have the paint toward the center vein, but it's not going to touch the center vein. There's an area, I'll show you on the line drawing. There's an area here that bulges out. It bulges out here. From that corner, that crook, that's where we're gonna put our paint, against that area where the bulge happens. And I'm gonna start on a diagonal and come up and then fade away. And I'm staying kind of against the dark. Can you see that? So it faded away up here. Start against that where it takes the bend and then fade it away. You can bring it down on a chisel. You can soften that up there. Then this area up here is like a C stroke, but we're going to do it kind of back to back. So where you stop this, you pick it up and you do a C and flip it over and put the paint in the middle and do a C down. Keeping it on the white area. Once that's done, I'm going to go back to, you can use your round brush or you can use your 10-aught liner, what you're more comfortable with. Pick up some Snow White, and I start to do a hit or miss type outline. So that means, and it's irregular, and some's thick, some's thin. Make sure you have water to smooth that line out. So I'm separating them from each other and giving them a little bit more. So you see how I'm irregular. Sometimes my paintbrush is on the surface, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's heavy load, sometimes it's thin load. And I'm going to do that hit or miss. And it's not smooth. Petals are not smooth. If you have the picture in front of you, sometimes that'll help. And this just kind of gives it a little more refined edges from the fuzzy dry brush, but also makes it pop from the background. And put waves in there. On the folds, you're going to put the line work on the upside edge of the fold. Make that darker. That makes sense. This petal here, the outline was very light. And what we're gonna do, that's where we're gonna put the, so getting back to, I'm gonna do my number 12 flat and do a side load down here on these two bumps here, on the end of that petal. Next step is to soften some of this white area, give it a more natural, I mean, it looks pretty cool, but I want it to be a little bit more natural and glowing. So what I did was I took out some Indian turquoise. I'm going to use my 3/4 inch wash brush again. So I'm going to pre-wet one petal at a time and against the center vein. And even though I'm picking this up like a side load, on the corner of my brush, pretty wet. It's pretty wet. You can see that. You can kind of see that, how wet that is. It's separating. And I'm going to go up and down the center vein with this color. And it's quite wide. Not showing up too much. I don't want it to really be honking in your eyes, but I want to see some of it. So I kind of stay on the center vein. I'm going to wash my brush out and do the next one. Come up and go down. With clean water first, pick up on the corner. Don't add any more water to your brush, and then paint each one at a time. This one, the color is going to stay, the bottom right, the color stays more to the top. It doesn't really come down beyond the bend. So just kind of mop it off. If you want to bring just a smidgen here, mop that. Stay above the bend. This one bends right here. So we're going to stay above that. Mop that out. And again, that bends there, so we're going to stay below that. Mop that. See, it's starting to look beautiful now. The next color I'm going to take out is going to be, I believe it's Sapphire. But I want to blow dry this first because I'm going to pre-wet again on top of that, but I'm going to size down to number 12 flat. And I'm going to bring this color on top of what I just did, only a shorter distance. So this is the Sapphire. Make sure you get most of that out. If you're afraid that you have too much paint on your brush, go ahead and wipe it off on a piece of paper towel. You don't want a lot of this color. It's just a very small area. This one in the back on the left is really mostly down underneath that other petal. So I'm going to blow dry that now. Well, what do you think?
It looks good. What does everybody else think? Everybody's
Probably
busy at work.
now, if you want to pull up those center veins again, some of them I left muted. So I didn't go back over them. I left muted. But like this one, I hit it with the white line again. Some of these areas just to brighten those up, but not all of them. I left that muted and just hit down here, if you see what I mean. This one I didn't touch at all. So some of them, if you, especially the center one, if you want to hit that with a liner brush and some white to punch up that vein, that center vein. Don't go down too far down into the center. Oops. You can thin it out when you get down there, so it's not bright all the way down. This one here, I'll be bright at the highlight. I'll be bright at the highlight, and then I will thin it out when I get near the blues, the Indian turquoise. This is Ultra Blue Deep. It's a really, really beautiful, deep, but yet vibrant color. And with just a little titch of that, I'm going to darken the back petals on the corner, mostly water, and I'm going to bring some down on that petal here. And I'm going to bring some down in this petal here. We'll make sure you don't get it on the one in front. And then I'm going to put a little bit on the one here in the back. In that triangle. Where's the mop brush? If this one didn't show up much, let's go back and add it a little darker. And I think that's what I'm going to do. Just leave it on those three that are in the background. Dry that, and we're going to then transfer on our stamen. I'm going to paint. There's a center piece called the carpel. It has the 3 balls at the top. Stamen piece have the brown top. And I'm going to take my 10-aught liner, and if this shows up, we're going to use this first, which is the Winter Blue. So make sure when you draw that, it draws out of the center. I'm just going to bring mine right over. Bring them all to the center. Have a little moisture in your brush. Will help the paint to run more smoothly. And it might show up and it might not. So we start with the lighter value first, and we work our way up the value scale. So if those don't show up very well, we go to our next value, in this case, which is the Indian turquoise. And I'm going to start to overstroke that color. If the winter blue does show up, just stroke the bottom and the top, and maybe down one side. but you don't have to do the whole thing as long as it shows up. Next value is the sapphire, and I'm going to mix that with the Indian turquoise and pull some down, pull some up. And I'm just chopping in some lines. You see how it's just choppy lines? The big center one,
It's called a carpel.
that one I'm going to go with sapphire, and I'm going to use my #1 round because I want that one to be really thick. So you make the 3 balls at the top, and then you pull that one down. And that one's thicker than the others. With sapphire, mix it with winter blue. I'm going to chop some of that just about the top, between the top and the middle,
Of the style.
and give it a little bit of a highlight. I think white would be too stark. I'm going to add a little touch
To the stigma.
on each section to give that a highlight. And then between the middle and top of that. If you want to shade that, I would take some of the ultra deep blue on my brush and just do a little comma stroke at the bottom of each of those. Pull some down from right underneath it and pull some up from the bottom. About, I don't know, ½ an inch. If you need a highlight on these stamen and you want to pick up some of your snow white between the top and the middle, you can touch in some of that if it shows. If you're on a light background part of your, it won't show up as much. Lastly, you can take some straight winter blue and tap it on the top, make a dot on the top. You could do it with white too, but I think the white would be too stark, would show up too brightly. For the tips, I'm going to do Asphaltum, and I'm going to use my #1 round, and I'm just going to tap it in. On the 2 large ones here, I'm going to kind of go around the blue, because as if it was the back side. Can you see the lights and dark? So the ones that you're seeing the back side of, you will be able to see the stem go right up into them. Now, if you don't have enough highlight on that just naturally, you can go in and take a little bit of your warm white and mix it with a touch of that color and tap in a few highlights. The last thing we need to do is now ground these into the center, because right now they're just kind of floating. There's no distinction between these petals in this area. So we need to solidify that these petals go into that, and that goes into the center. And I'm going to side load, and I'm going to start with Sapphire. Use my number 12 flat. You can, again, pre-wet this area or just go right to your side load. And I'm going to put a side load of that. And I'm going to start up here against that petal. And I'm going to come around and I'm going to end over here. You can make it thicker on the back petals. See how it starts to pushes this petal forward and puts those 3 petals back. The next color I'm going to use is going to be Ultra Blue Deep. Really just a smidgen, because a little bit of that goes a long way, like that royal blue for icing. When you make cakes, that blue goes forever. And I'm going to put that only on this petal here and maybe that one there. Let's see. And I can bring it down. See how that popped it just there? And I did not bring it all the way down like I did the first one. So that just makes that center even deeper. Evaluate your piece. Whenever you're done painting a piece, evaluate your piece and see if you need to lighten some areas, darken some areas, you know, what doesn't show up. Like this one has a fuzzy edge. We never finished that one. So we can go and take our round brush or the liner with some zinc and just hit the bottom of this with some zinc, and that kind of gives you that illusion that that's folding over. And you can do the same on that one over there. Just hit the bottom of that a little bit. If you see any areas where you need to brighten or darken, then you should go ahead and do that. So if I feel like I don't see these stamen, I might just go ahead and make them more white, and then they'll pop up. Okay, so yeah, the metallic luster silver spark. So what I did was that, because I wanted something metallic-y silvery. I don't know why I just had to have that. I tried the metallic paints that you can get, the decor stuff like that, but none of them did what I wanted them to do. None of them gave me the look that I was looking for. So I went and grabbed this at like the Hobby Lobby or whatever. It's very creamy. So you just rub some on your finger and gently, again, I barely tickle the surface and bring some down over the surface, and start out with less is better. And I hit all these different areas around, and I don't go over the flower. So see how that is starting to So less is better. You can go on the edges as well, because I painted the edges too. So less is better. If you can't find this, private message me your email, your home address, or friends or neighbors, and I'll mail you a little cup of this stuff, because you don't need a lot of it. Just enough to give a little bit of an accent of metallic. So when you're looking at it straight on, you really can't tell what that shimmer is. So doesn't it just, I think it just, it's just enough. It just like pops. I can add some on the sides. And then I would spray it with a spray varnish. You could always varnish it first with a brush on and then do this step. And then I feel like the Tin Man. But that's, see, I don't know. Is it me, or do you guys like it? Do you like it?
Oh yeah, I do.
If you had like a stencil and you wanted to stencil with this too, and the stencil brush, and just wipe over and lift off, but I just wanted it haphazard, so.
I like it because it changes it from that, you know, I always say how that stippling looks like a tile.
Okay.
Now, yeah, it gives it a little more depth. I like it.
Cool.
It brings the flower more up front.
Yes, that too.
Mm.
And your flower just pops. It really does. They all do. The technique makes it look really three-dimensional. Thank you so much for letting me watch you and join you today, Cindy. And what a beautiful way to start fresh. And I have my little book here, the Daily Affirmations Guidebook. So for cleanse, it says a fresh start or new perspective often requires a cleansing or releasing of past hurts. And, you know, so washing them away. And, you know, that picture that you just created with the flower kind of reminds me of that fresh scent, that crisp linen scent. I don't know if you've ever seen anything that had that scent of fresh linen, but that would be the picture that they would put with it, I think. You know, it just really has it depicts what I would expect to I don't know, it animates the idea of what a fresh start would be for me. So thank you. Thank you for putting that together with the word cleanse. I love it.
Thank you for being here with us and helping me produce this show. Thank you for joining us. Until next week, remember to always paint with heart. Have a good night.
Bye.